So this is just a quick introduction to the format rules for tables in Word documents. There are two types of placement of tables. They can be placed vertically this way and horizontally this way. For the vertical placement, you have two options. You can have up here at the top if you want to do the 2-inch top margin, or you can have them centered right in the page. We're going to do all of our tables as being centered right in the middle of the page. The other kind of placement is horizontal placement, and if your table is a little bit off to the side, it doesn't really look as good as it does right in the middle. So all of our tables will be centered horizontally. And there's a button that will do that. I'll show you that on another day. Another consideration is the row height. You want to follow this rule. Either they're all the same or descending in size. So the first example and the second example, they all have row, or just the first example, I'm sorry, is a row height where they're all equal to each other. But the last two examples, you have row heights that are larger, and then they get a little bit smaller as you go down. That's a little different style. We're going to start today with rows being all the same height. Then there's also the column widths. In the first two examples, all the columns are equal to each other, but in the last one, you can tell that they're slightly longer than the longest item in the column, and they could also just be markedly different for some other reason. We'll start out today with them all being the same, and then I'll show you later how to make them different sizes. The last thing we want to talk about is cell alignment, and that's where the data is going to be in the cell. Now before, when we've used alignment buttons, we've used one that's either left or center or right. But for what we're doing, we need to put the data in a certain place in the cell, so we need these 9 different choices. And you can find those on the table tools whenever you insert a table. So the rule that we're going to follow is if it's words, we're going to make them centered left in our data. If it's a heading, it's going to be center, center. And if it's numbers, it could be either centered or center right. And the way that you know is if you're adding up columns of numbers and they have decimals, you're going to use center right. But if they're like zip codes or phone numbers, something where they have the same number of digits or similar numbers of digits, then you're probably going to be using the center button. So that's enough information, I think, to get you started.